Human rights defenders, workers, students, and activists will march in Argentina to commemorate the Day of Memory, Truth, and Justice, 47 years after the coup d'etat that gave way to the nation's most violent dictatorship in 1976. Cubans set the details for next Sunday's legislative elections, in which deputies will be elected to the National Assembly of People's Power for the 2023 to 2028 term. Muslims all over the world celebrate the holiest month of Ramadan under joy, uncertainty, and hope. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. On Friday, in Argentina, thousands of human rights defenders, workers, students, and activists will march all over the country to commemorate the Day of Memory, Truth, and Justice, 47 years after the coup d'etat that gave way to the nation's most violent dictatorship in 1976. Every year, on March 24th, Argentines carry out actions to remember and reject the beginning of the civic military dictatorship presided during his first years by Jorge Rafael Videla. In Buenos Aires, the march, called by the Memory, Truth, and Justice Coordinator, will start from the Congress at 12 p.m. local time. 2 hours later, the march, called by the grandmothers and mothers of Mayo Square, found in line, will start from Mayo Avenue. Through this and other symbolic acts, Argentines will pay tribute to the memory of over 30,000 citizens who were detained, tortured, murdered, and disappeared by the military regime, as well as demand the continuity of judicial processes against those responsible for the many crimes against humanity, such as the kidnapping of babies that were taken from political prisoners and illegally delivered to other families. On Wednesday, a new massacre in Colombia left 4 dead in the town of Putumayo. According to the Institute for Development and Peace Studies in the past, the criminal act took place in the village of Esmeralda, when an armed group killed 4 people on the road that connects the towns of Leiva with El Rosario in northern Putumayo. According to In the Past, so far in 2023, there have been 26 massacres and 31 social leaders murdered in Colombia. The organization also reported that clashes between armed groups have been reported in the municipality of Cumbitara. The department of Putumayo in southern Colombia is one of the most isolated regions of the South American country and the scene of clashes between armed groups. The president of Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora, expressed his willingness to design a lithium policy together with other Latin American countries that will benefit their economies and protect them from interventionism from the United States. The Bolivian head of state highlighted that moving in the market in a sovereign manner with prices that benefit the economies of all Latin American countries should be an objective that unites the region. President Arce expressed his support for creating an organization similar to the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, but for lithium, an idea first suggested by his Mexican counterpart, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. The Bolivian senior official warned he does not want lithium to attract the interest of the U.S. Southern Command and become a factor of destabilization in the country and the region. It is estimated that Bolivia owns 21 million tons of unexploited lithium resources, the largest amount in the world. And the Peruvian Congress approved on Thursday a requisition in plenary against the Ministers of Defense, Jorge Chávez, and Education, Oscar Becerra, for them to account for their performance during the anti-government protests and racist comments against the native peoples. The Minister of Defense received 3 motions. The first one endorsed by 107 votes in favor, the second by 104, while the third one, presented by a parliamentarian of the leftist Peru Libre Party, was approved with 86 positive votes, 14 against, and 2 abstentions. Likewise, the legislature approved another motion of interpellation against the Minister of Education, Oscar Becerra, for his words about a group of indigenous Aymara women who were protesting in Lima, the capital city, carrying their children on their backs. And we move on to other topics. Cubans prepare for next Sunday's legislative elections, in which deputies will be elected to the National Assembly of People's Power for the 2023 to 2028 term. According to electoral authorities, these legislative elections take place every 5 years, whose legal framework establishes that 470 legislators will form the National Assembly of People's Power, with 221 grassroots delegates, 135 provincial delegates, and 114 national delegates. As part of the electoral campaign, the candidates concluded on Friday the meetings with their constituents, who reside in different municipalities throughout the country. Meanwhile, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez acknowledged that those nominated to the parliament are an integral and diverse representation of the people. If the candidacies that Cubans will vote for on March 26 to form a new parliament are confirmed, the average age of the new legislature will be 46 years. Among the future deputies will be 94 young people. Denis Suarez Valera is one of them. Our correspondent Fabiola Lopez shows us the third episode of a series of the general elections in Cuba that we present this week.
A little more than 76 kilometers southeast of Havana, in the fertile fields of Mayabeque province, we go in search of Denis Suarez Valera, a young countryman with a degree in physical culture and a delegate of the People's Power with 3 terms in office. What is the secret to get elected for the 3rd year in a row and have the people follow you?
To have good relationship with the population, to assist them to deal with their concerns and give them an answer.
This farmer is also president of the food cooperative 26 de Julio in Los Palos de Nueva Paz, and is one of the 17 farmers who are candidates for deputy in the new legislature that Cubans will be voting for on March 26. Denis proudly tells TeleSUR about the achievements of his cooperative.
Last year we made more than 6 million Cuban pesos in income from the cooperative. We have been growing every year, but 2022 was the year with the best results in the history of the cooperative. This year we aim to exceed those historical records so that the 26th of July continues to be the 26th of July of Mayabeque and Cuba.
This 4-franc cooperative grows roots, crops, grains, and vegetables, but its main purpose is cattle farming. The hardened men, led by Denis, take the opportunity of TeleSUR's visit to express their admiration for their boss, who could now be a future parliamentarian.
He's a young man, he's 34 years old, he stands out, he's on top of his game. He's doing it the way he should be.
What should members of parliament be like?
Like that guy, like that. A guy who knows what he is doing. A tough guy. It is an honor for the cooperative to have a president who is a deputy to the National Assembly. He has the qualities to be worthy of this and much more. Why? He's a very human person, a good companion first of all. He's a partner before being the president, but a very demanding partner. Nonetheless, he is special, the best. He deserves it.
And don't you think he's too young?
No, that has nothing to do with it. Youth, being loyal and revolutionary. Youth, doesn't matter.
Denis is part of the 20% of young candidates for the next legislature, but tells TeleSUR that he still does not believe it.
It never crossed my mind to be part of the parliament and much less to be at that level, let alone a farmer from here. The task is difficult because there is also the family. You also have to dedicate time to it. But, well, yes, we are going to make it, especially with the team I have. It is a great challenge if the people elect me as deputy. To be a deputy to the parliament is an honor, and that only happens in Cuba. In no other country in the world does a farmer who works the land have these rights that I have, and so does anyone else in Cuba.
This young farmer assures that if the people elect him, he will not let them down. He explains that, according to his experience, the magic wand that solves problems is work. He says he intends to serve, to empathize, and to meet the demands of his constituents. In these times, he explains, it is necessary to have a deputy who is closely linked to the people, and if he is young, all the better.
Fabiola López, TeleSUR, Nueva Paz, Mayabeque, Cuba.
Let's take a short break. But first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. More than 1,500 people from 8 towns have been evacuated in the Spanish region of Valencia in the southeast. Unfavorable weather conditions allowed the flames to spread to the north, reaching Aragon, where some towns were also evacuated. So far, the fires have consumed nearly 2,000 hectares of forest. According to local authorities in Valencia, 400 firefighters, rescue workers and military personnel, 15 planes, seaplanes and helicopters worked to extinguish the flames. A nearby field hospital was set up and the Red Cross opened a reception center for evacuees in a gymnasium in the town of Segorbe. A report by the European Forest Fire Information System cites Spain as the most affected country within the Union during the last summer, when it was hit by some 500 fires that burned over 300,000 hectares of land. A total of 457 people were arrested on Thursday during mass protests across France against the pension reform. The figure was confirmed on Friday by the Minister of the Interior, Gerald Darmanin, who insisted on pointing to the leftist sectors as the instigators of the widespread discontent. The expressions of the government official come a day after millions of French people mobilized in more than 300 points of the country against the reform that delays the minimum retirement age from 62 to 64. In addition, the Department of the Interior counted 903 fires of street furniture and containers, which in some districts of Paris and in other cities have been accumulated due to the garbage collection strike for more than 2 weeks. In France, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation on Friday has asked airlines to cancel flights in the coming days due to the strike by air traffic controllers against the pension reform imposed by the national government. Most of the airports in France reported delays in the departure and arrival of multiple flights due to the paralyzation of activities. On Friday, air traffic was reduced by 30% to match the number of available controllers. Although the strike was only scheduled for Thursday and Friday, the unions decided to extend the measure to link it with the national strike planned for March 28th against the pension reform. And the China government insisted on Friday that it is not asking companies to hand over data collected overseas, as Chinese-owned TikTok faces growing calls for a ban in the United States. The popular video sharing app owned by Chinese companies ByteDance is under increasing pressure to gain new owners or lose access to the huge U.S. market. In a grueling 5-hour hearing with U.S. lawmakers on Thursday, TikTok CEO Zhu Shizu faced relentless questioning from combative U.S. lawmakers on both sides over the app's ties to China and its danger to teenagers. ByteDance is not owned or controlled by the Chinese government and is a private company, Xu told the lawmakers in his opening statement, referring to TikTok's parent company based in China. On Friday, the Beijing government also noted that some members of the U.S. Congress claimed that trying to ban TikTok is xenophobic political persecution. TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ramadan is the holiest month in Islam and commemorates the moment when Allah revealed the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. On Friday, millions of Muslims around the world fast from dawn to dusk during this period. This year, they celebrate it between March 23rd and April 21st. During this month, the faithful try to achieve a spiritual rapprochement with Allah, strengthening their relationship with God, and perform selfless and well-intentioned deeds, as well as refrain from lying, gossiping, or fighting. During this time, Muslims should practice fasting, avoid alcohol, and intercourse from sunrise to sunset. And as part of Ramadan celebrations, millions of Afghans began their evening prayers that are seen as a way to repent for sins, to elevate spirit and reconnect with family and God. The country faces a special security situation, but Afghans celebrate the holy month full of hope.
The security has improved and especially security at the mosques has increased. God bless them. I feel very good. We come here from Asar, the morning prayer until midnight, and work here. We come here safe and our families no worry. They see us through television, so they don't need to worry. God willing.
And Ramadan is also celebrated in the African continent. In Nigeria, the holy month of Islam was welcomed with prayers.
Ramadan is very important for Muslims because when we fast, we are demonstrating our belief in the Almighty. We don't see Him, He sees us. We know it. We don't see Him, but His signs are everywhere for everyone to see. We can see the creative power of the Almighty God in everything in the world. So we know that He is the only uncreated creator of all creatures. So when we fast, we don't eat, we don't drink, although we have food and drink available. We will not touch it, because we are very aware of the Almighty for whom we fast.
On Friday, the government of Iran called on the authorities of France to abandon its interfering policy and meet the requirements of its own people. The position was stated by the spokesperson of the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Nazar Kanani. The diplomat indicated that the executive in Paris should stop promoting chaos in other countries and attend to the demands of the French people who are still mobilized against the pension reform imposed by the President Macron. Kanani referred to the France's role as instigator of protests in Iran over the death of Masha Amini, allegedly at the hands of the moral police for not properly wearing her hijab. Back in November, Macron called the Iranian protests as a revolution and said the crackdown by Iranian leaders will make it harder to reach agreements on reviving the 2015 nuclear deal. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.